it's one of those things I realised that is actually how you get people to do well. You set standards, human standards and high standards of behaviour and expectations and respect and all those kind of things. And I know it sounds cliched, but I've seen it work over and over and over again. But I think the most important thing is to teach them to teach themselves. That's where I'd see it, and not just in coaching but in teaching as well. That's a really powerful way of coming to grips with your history, your algebra, your rowing, your rugby or whatever. That every season, okay, you know, if you've got a group and it's a project over 4 years, or if it's a 1 year thing or it's a 6-month thing, the idea would be to progressively let go of the team and let them become the coaches. In other words, sort of make yourself redundant by the end of the year, so you're not needed anymore for that final race or that final exam. And yeah, sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. Some people will, you've always got to give them a leg up or give them a helping hand, but I think that's a really powerful way. So in a rowing 8 you've got 9 people, and I like to see at the end of the year you've got 9 coaches plus me, so 10 coaches rather than coach athlete. So yeah, it's basically to teach them to learn and educate themselves about the sport. I think that's really important, rather than me just imparting information all one-way traffic the whole time. I start off with that, but then you try to tease it out of them and you get them to read and look at YouTube videos. By the end of the year, they should hopefully know everything you know, and you're redundant and job done. Yeah. I think the expectation thing, I keep it really, really simple, and it's never in terms of outcomes. I'd never say we want to win this or we want to do that. That'll happen hopefully. The expectations we set for, or I set, you know, with other coaches, is one more of behaviour and expectation and manners. You know, please and thank you, turn up on time. Work as hard as you can, be honest with your coach, be honest with your teammates, but be honest with yourself. Don't be afraid to come and talk to the coach. This is only a game, and we're all doing it for fun. Even the coaches are doing it even when they get angry, they're still doing it for fun. So yeah, and that takes time, of course. That's just words initially. So I'm not a great one for sort of setting out the mission statement, because any plan you make, any path you might lay out is always divergent anyway. So I try to keep it really simple. Those expectations and goals themselves will hopefully come from the athlete themselves, as they know where they stand, and if, you know, particularly for beginners, if this is their sport. You know, personally, for a year or two when I did it, I just wanted to have fun, and then I wanted to do better and better, and eventually wanted to go to the Olympics. So yeah, I don't try to impose my goals or ideals on the kids. That comes sort of organically. That should grow. Yeah. Yeah, if you want to get the best out of people, help them get the best out of themselves. It's a subtle difference there. You've got to know the person in front of you, not just what they can lift in the gym or what they can pull in an erg or what they can run for 5K. It's actually you know, family background, how many brothers and sisters you have, what do you do for the holidays. It's just the simple things. It actually makes them feel like a person rather than just an athlete, a number, a member of a team. It takes time, I think, but right from the beginning, I try to get to know the person, and it's a very helpful thing, because if you get to know them and you can ask them, hey, you know, how did the round of golf go with your uncle last week? Did he even tell you that? You know. They'll start to trust you a bit more, and sort of the relationship builds. And once the relationship builds, the honesty starts to build. That's something it's not an artificial construct you can put in at the start, but it takes time though. And for me, I can't personally. I see some coaches, and they go in and make an immediate difference to these kind of things. Magic. I can't do that. I've got to spend time getting to know these people, whether they're young or whether they're old. I think I'm reasonably okay at it. I like people. I like to get to know people and what makes them tick. Couldn't care less if they pull an oar particularly well or not. That's just the medium we use to help them grow up, yeah. inbuilt for a lot of us, fear of failure, fear of letting yourself down, letting your teammates down, letting your family down. And that's kind of all around us, isn't it? You know, you've got to win, win, win. Be the best you can, win the gold medal. It's this culture around us that winning is important. Where it's nice. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with winning at all. It's great. And instinctively, young kids like competition. You know, when kids play games initially, it's just for fun, but very quickly they'll set some rules, and then they'll do a score, and they'll count the score. And the best intent of, of parents, they'll say, oh, you just had fun, but the kids will say, no, we lost 10-0. We didn't have fun. Even 4-year-olds will do that, and that's okay. But that's your job as a coach and as a parent to say, hey, so what? Big deal, no worries. And even if you lose, your national championships, your world championships, your Olympic games, really, your parents are still going to love you. Your girlfriend's not going to leave you because you lost the Olympic Games. Well, she shouldn't. You shouldn't be the girlfriend in the first place. But I do that with the boys here. Sometimes they get very nervous, and I'll say, if you do win, boys, they're going to put a big oil painting on the wall for you, and they'll give you a week of school off. And the kids start to believe this, and then they sort of pick up that I'm actually just pulling their leg. That really it doesn't matter. They might get up on the stage for a quick applause from their mates, but after that, they're just Joe Soap back in algebra class again. And I try to lead by example. That, in fact, I'll share some stories with them of times I lost, and I lost way more than I ever won. And I couldn't. The wins and the losses are forgotten. It's just the memories and the friends and the things you appreciate. Going off to Twizel for a week with your mates, that's way better than winning a Maddie Cup. And that's what these kids remember. It's going off and fishing for a week, or going swimming in the lake, and the odd bit of rowing. Getting away from the folks, of course, as well is a good one. But it's most kids come in with the idea that winning's important, and hopefully when they leave the program, they realise it's not. The comments, we invite them to come down and see what we're doing anytime. Now they don't. There's a line. We don't allow them. They're nothing to do with selection or training. We're the experts there, and they understand that, and that line is never blurred, despite what some of them might want to think about their little Johnny being, the next Hamish Bond. But we make that really clear at the start of the season. Hey, you're putting your trust in us as coaches, but we need your help as well, and by all means, bring up anything with us. So I always find with parents who might be a little bit sort of iffy, if you like, give them a job, get your enemies closer, make them butter bread, and they'll see that interaction with the kids and the coaches. And I tell you, every time they're blown away with it, and your worst critics become your sort of staunchest allies very, very quickly. But it's also the right way to do it. It's their family, that their family is more important, and you don't separate families. You try to encourage them to be part of it. So yeah, I think keeping people close and staying honest with them works. You can teach old dogs new tricks. You can teach adults some what makes things what makes their kids tick. It's a hard one for adults. It's a hard thing for parents. Certainly to the teen years, to go different ways. But if you can involve them in their passion, that's really powerful, and it brings. It's lovely to see sometimes. Teenagers hugging their parents and saying thank you, just simple things like that. And that comes through being gracious and grateful. Yeah. We're all a product of our environment, and I see that as a teacher all the time. I'll have some kids in class, and you kind of, wondering about these kids, and then their parents come in and you go, oh yeah, you know why. And as a dad, and I'm quite conscious of that what they'll turn out like is reflected in what the type of person I am. I've seen that here as a school teacher with parents almost living their dreams and lives through their kids and putting undue pressure on them, and that's a difficult conversation to have sometimes with parents and kids, because that's not what sport's about. It's only games, isn't it? Really. Yeah. I think so anyway. People don't believe me, but I believe it's just games. It's good fun. That's why we started playing games as kids. It wasn't for medals, it was just for fun. After a while we organised some rules, and after a while maybe somebody got a medal, but initially let's go and play. Let's go and play outside. That's what kids do. It's instinctive in kids. We lose it as we get older, the adults, unfortunately. You know, if you could run sport, if sport could be run by kids, for kids, that would be a lot better. Nothing to get done, but who cares? It'd be good fun to watch it, wouldn't it? But yeah, it's unfortunately, we're the problem. Yeah, we are definitely the problem. You see it enough. Yeah, you see that enough. And that's sad. That really is sad. And there's not, you know, as I say, you try to involve parents, but you can't interfere in a family dynamic. And if that's been going on, it's been going on long before your kid ever joined a rowing club or came to secondary school, or even primary school. Your parents are your biggest influence up to the age of 5. And yeah, we see some pretty sad sort of not too many, but it's always the one or two stick with you. And you see those kids are under pressure from home, or, you know, on the converse side, they're under no pressure. The parents will never turn up, and they don't seem to show any interest. And all you can do is your best. All you can do is, you know, put your arm around the lad and say, "Hey, well done, mate. You're doing well. You find your own way in the world." And no, we do try to contact those parents and say, "Hey," even if it's just a newsletter, to say, "Hey, you know, little Johnny did really well this week." And but it is that's quite difficult to see, especially with kids. Yeah, it's one of the harder things you have to deal with. I would hope that, due to our constant reinforcing of our initial message, that we would have given them right at the start of year 9, or the start of every year, in fact, they would understand the way. And it's always down to something like selection. Look, my little Johnny's turning up and he's training 6 to 7 times a week, but he's not getting into the top boat. Complete honesty with them. I'll always find that. There's no point trying to pull the wool or make up airy-fairy stuff. Just, I've said, look, if your goal or his goal is to make a particular team, but there's 13 guys going for 8 seats, and he's not in it, he's just not good enough. He doesn't move the boat fast enough. And they'll come back with, "Oh, but he's turned up to training and he's pulled this on the ergo and he's..." But I'll always refer them back to the initial. I've even pulled out the sheet and said selection is done on a number of topics, mainly how you move boats and how you fit in with teammates and what your attitude is like. And ergo scores and weights are way down the bottom. And sometimes you get tears from parents because they realise that actually the coach is right and they're wrong, and it's difficult, and I've been there. But again, I try to send that message to them that, hey, it's just a game. Is he enjoying himself? Well, he is. So let's just leave him alone. And I would say most parents do let go a little bit when you give them that chat. Because I can relate to that, because I'm a parent as well. And I'll share some of my stories that I don't like my kids not making the team. And we sit and we have a nod together. Yeah, bloody coaches. Yeah. But no, parents are great, but we're all, it's not even, I won't use the word guilty, because we shouldn't be guilty for loving our kids. And you love them more than anything. And you want to see them do the best. And it's hard, a little bundle of joy when you had and said its first word at the age of 6 months, and you thought it was way ahead of the education curve, and it came back with this oil painting which was completely crap, but you thought he was the next Van Gogh, you know. And we all think our kids are great, but in fact most of our kids are just average. Sorry to my 2 daughters who are brilliant, but anyway. Yeah, relationships the hardest thing, isn't it? Trying to paddle your way through relationships. That's a hard one, especially when it's not your relationship, when it's another family. And I can say, look, I could be wrong. That's always a good one to say to parents. I could be wrong, but I have a bit of experience doing this, and usually I'm not. But yeah, I don't like that knock on the door from the parents, I'll be honest. Yeah. Can I speak with you? Oh God, here we go. We've all been there. Subconsciously, they'll start to model what their coach does. That's on us. That's our responsibility to ensure that doesn't happen, and we have to be really, really careful. And we get passionate about it as well, and we lose our temper, and we want to win as coaches as well. We don't just do it for the warm fuzzies. It is nice to win. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't want to apologise for that, but not at any cost. And the cost, unfortunately, a lot of the time is the kids and their relationship with sport and what it means to them. And unfortunately, a lot of coaches, a lot of school teachers, a lot of school boards and principals are guilty of that. And I've seen a lot of that in my time in New Zealand. We've all seen it with certain sports, that it's not about the kids anymore. It's about the prestige of the school, or it's about the ego of the coach. And we should be the anonymous people. It should have nothing to do with us at all. People shouldn't know who the coaches are. Yeah, we should be invisible, because we don't need that. Certainly don't think there should be anything enforced at the age of 15 or 16. I think as kids get a little bit older, they almost in a way demand it themselves. They want to get better at what they do, and they become quite passionate. And in fact, a lot of the times you've got to hold these kids back. There's nothing wrong with excellence, and I'm not going to be an apologist for anything else. I think teaching kids to be excellent at everything they do is a great life lesson. Or trying to be excellent. You don't have to be excellent. Most of us never get to excellence. If we get to merit, we're doing well. But I have an old saying that if at first you don't succeed, offer a scholarship. And unfortunately, I see that again, that is not the kid or the teenager's first wish. It's the school, it's the parents, it's the board, as I said before. And I think that is, I won't say rife in this country, but all it takes is a couple of schools to start that, and then schools are put under pressure by benefactors, by old boys, by old girls, by the board, to go out and, if you like, entice kids to come in and wear the jersey and pretend that they're actually from that school. And really, I'd go the other way, in fact, and I see a lot of school notice boards around this city and around the country, and it's saying, and it's, quite rightly, it's got, under 16 national hockey champions, or it's basketball Canterbury champions, etc., etc. And you know that a number of those kids didn't even start in that school. They were brought in not because they were good kids or whatever, because they can throw a ball, they can kick a rugby ball or swing a badminton racket. I would love to see. I would send my kids to a school that had a sign outside that said, we don't offer scholarships, we don't care about winning, but we'll give your kid the best education we can, we'll try to make them excellent. But we don't see that. And I understand, in certain schools, there's sort of, you need to attract the customers, particularly the independent schools. It's a business, and you've got to attract people in, but using kids as currency, I do not subscribe to that whatsoever. And in fact, I never have. And I'm lucky enough, I work with a bunch of coaches in the boat club who don't. So scholarships, year 14s. School sports council will always put rules up to try to dampen that down. But that's all they can do, because there are people out there who will find a way around these rules. And I really don't think they should have anything to do with school sport. They go off and do professional stuff if they want, and go to franchises, as they call them, but not secondary school sport, not at all. I had that experience myself as an 18-year-old. I was the only one in my club who was under 18. Club down the road had a whole lot of international juniors. They asked me to come down, and it didn't even occur to me to do that. letting my own club down. I wouldn't do that. I stuck with them, got into a single, and I'm glad I did. Okay, I didn't win a national junior championship, but who cares? Yeah, who do we do it for is really what it comes down to. And anyone involved in school sport or kids sport needs to ask himself that question. Who are we actually doing it for? And if you don't come up with the answer, the kids, first and foremost, you need to look in the mirror, in my opinion. Yeah, I see the season blur, as you call it, as a growing problem, something that maybe wasn't here when I came here first. I wasn't particularly aware of it. Coming from Ireland, where due to the school terms in the seasons, you had to play one sport for 9 months, and then you had your summer. And I came over here and thought, how are you supposed to run a program on 6 months? Because you've only got them 6 months, and then they go off and do something else. And within 1 year, I was convinced that this is absolutely the way to do it. You can run a very good, successful winning program in 6 months, and it's actually hugely beneficial for these kids to do multisport. I've never seen a huge advantage of pre-season training, and there's a lot of that coming in earlier and earlier. You know, we've got to get into the gym, we've got to do this, we've got to do that. I think that's a fear on the part of coaches that they're getting left behind, and they're not. They're actually not. In fact, what they should be doing as coaches is going to the other sport that the kids love and offering to help there, and you know, keep an eye on your athlete, but maybe pass on some of the information you have about your athlete to the basketball coach or the rowing coach, and actually work as a team to ensure the best outcome for the kid and the two sports. And it's actually hugely beneficial for these kids to do multisport. It gives them more athleticism anyway, as a coach. Gives them new skills, rather than a one-dimensional, stale sport that they do all the time. And you don't need to do it all the time at that age. Kids are very, very adaptable. And I generally find the kids who do, you know, the two sports, and maybe a third as well in their spare time, tend to be the really good athletes. But yeah, I've had this argument with numerous people. So no, you've got to professionalize. You've got to specialize. I know you don't. I used to think you did, but I was wrong. I was wrong, completely and utterly wrong. I'm completely convinced now that the more the better, for every reason, socially, educationally, but sporting-wise as well. You get better athletes who can do lots of things. And long term, they become better athletes as well. If you can play a lot of sport, if you can try everything, and a lot of schools say, come on in here, there's all these opportunities, but yet they're kind of pigeonholed into the sport that they came in being good at. Maybe they were a Canterbury cricketer at the age of 12. They're going to go to the cricket club. I do believe that every kid should be given an opportunity to try as many things as they can, even if it is only for 6 or 8 weeks. That way you'll actually, and if you're interested in winning as a school, that way you'll actually get the winners. You'll get the kids who are suited to rowing or badminton or snooker or whatever is into those sports. And secondly, more importantly, they'll actually love it. So you win-win. You'll actually win, and then you'll win with the kids as well. So, you know, junior age competitions, I'm not particularly gone on that whatsoever. You can do it, but make it very clear that we couldn't care less if you win or lose. We know you're rubbish at hockey, but you're giving it a go, and you don't like it. Great, move on. Next week you've got rowing. You might like that. And I do guarantee, you know, I think 90% of kids will find something that they'll love, and hopefully it's their passion, and then hopefully again it'll overcome that big issue we all have as school kids leaving sport when they turn 18. If you love something an awful lot, you're not going to quit at 18 just because you're going to uni or going out to work. You'll find a club, you'll find somewhere to join and do that. But if you do it half-heartedly because you never found your right sport, of course you're going to quit. And that's obviously the big question around the world. How do we stop kids leaving sport so early? I think that could be the answer. Put them into something. Give them the opportunity to find something that they're just going to grow as people and as athletes for the rest of their lives. What better way than to be part of a team and go through the ups and downs of sport, which honestly can teach you a lot about the ups and downs of life as well. And of course, any doctor will tell you that physical well-being is one of the first things that anybody suffering from mental illness should be, if they can, to engage in for all the physiological reasons. So I think it's a win-win, and every one of us will go out for a walk if that's the limit of our athletic ability, or we'll go for a run, or we'll go to the gym. And I've yet to meet somebody who comes back saying, "Oh, I feel worse." They always feel better, and if you can do that every day, especially in the company of friends and like-minded people, that's a huge support for you, I think. It's helped me. It's helped me. I've had some rough times, and the sport itself and the people I know through that have helped me through a lot of stuff over the years. Yeah. It's a feeling. It's that feeling, and it's very hard to put words on that. I see the outcomes of what I do, and those outcomes are a lot of the time someone has grown as a person and become a much more confident, well-rounded, happy person, with an ability to laugh at themselves and laugh at the fact they fail. And I do embrace failure a lot, and I see that in school kids, particularly in class. I really do think there's a personal side. I like the challenge of it. I like taking sort of raw material, if you like, clay, and try to mold it into some sort of sculpture. Okay, but that clay and that sculpture is a human being, and going from this sort of amorphous kid who doesn't quite know who they are, where they are, what they're doing, to someone who has grasped something, whether it's statistics or it's calculus or whether it's rowing, and that has shaped them, and it's given them some sort of core or some sort of foundation to build on. And I see myself as helping to do that, and to help someone shape their life, not to win races, but to shape their life. I think I'm hugely privileged to be allowed to do that, and I think that's where what it comes down to. It's dealing with people, yeah, and helping people become better people. That's why I do it. Well, if they can remember me at all, I think that's a win. Who was that bald Irish guy that? If they actually, if they think that I had some little part to play in who they became in a positive way, hell, that's wonderful, isn't it? I wouldn't like to hear it. I get embarrassed with that kind of stuff. But I have had that discussion with a number of people that I've worked with over the years. They've grown up and they've had kids of their own, and they'll come back to me and they'll just say, "Hey, thanks very much for helping me through that stage." And one of the great ones is I still remember what you said about X, Y, and Z, and I still use that today. And I get quite that puts the hairs up in the back of your neck, when much more so than medals. That's special. I'm just glad I was in the right place at the right time with the right people. I'll try to keep doing it, as best I can. It brings people together rather than separates them, and we have so much in common on this planet, and it's all those people that I'm still in touch with. I had an email the other day from an American guy I raced in 1993, and asking me how I was. I had actually a written letter from a Dutch guy I raced in 2001 this year, just reminiscing and asking how things were going, and knowing that those people have way more in common with me than 99% of my own countrymen, that I've got these kindred spirits all over the planet. So you're part of a brotherhood or a sisterhood of like-minded people, and that's been really cool to be involved with. And it's the same thing when you go coaching now. You can sit down and talk to any athlete from any country in the world, or any coach, and immediately you've got something in common. And you don't even have to explain it, because you know, and they know. You've gone through it. You've gone through the winter mornings. You've gone through the blisters. You've gone through the parents asking you why Johnny's not in the crew. And that's a real special group of people to be involved with. So that's what I would tell. It's the fraternity, or the sorority, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, the family.